Welcome to our webinar. I'm so happy that the advisors for FBLA and middle level from Alabama could be joining us today as we go over the new database. Why the new system? One of the best features of this new system is there's one universal login for everything. So before, when you guys were having the different logins for the advisor area, and if you were a professional member and those different logins, you all had different logins and passwords. Now there's one password. The other thing is for more security, we don't use the chapter number and the password service anymore, which is really good, because what would happen with the old database is a lot of times maybe an advisor would get the wrong number, and before they realized it, they had entered members in on the wrong chapter. The other thing is that every advisor, every professional member, every student now will have the opportunity to have a profile. Why is that important? Because it really will track the membership awards and the conference awards. So for the chapter record, if your chapter ever won Super Sweeps, it's going to show that and the date that it won. Once the student records are activated, it'll show if they won at the National Leadership Conference, what place, what year, and the Business Achievement Awards. It will tell the different levels that they achieved and the year that they achieved. And as we work through things today, we'll take a look and a sneak peek at some of these different areas. The other thing is that we really want to get our arms on the alumni, as you probably do as well. So the beauty of a student profile is that once the student creates their profile, they can always change their email address, and they'll have it after graduation so they can log in. It's a really good way for you as the local advisor to kind of keep track of your students as well, or your former students, because there is the opportunity for students to add things such as a LinkedIn profile and different items to their chapter profile. Okay, it looks like we're ready to get started. So we're going to take it from the beginning. So first of all, you need to activate your FBLA PBL account if you haven't done so already. A lot of you received a link at the beginning of the school year, and you continually every couple of weeks receive the link, but you can also always get it on the website. So to activate our account, we're going to click on the blue box that says Activate Your My FBLA PBL Account. We're going to go to another blue box. We're going to do it again, and it's going to give you this link. So that's how you get started. There's 3 simple steps. You enter your email address on this link, click email me the link, and you're going to set your own login and password. Your login is actually going to be your email address, and the password is going to be something that you're setting on your own. So that's how you get started. We're going to go ahead and log in, and I'm going to use my login to show you how it's going to look once you get onto your chapter record. So at your login screen, you're going to have a screen just like this. How do you get to this screen once you set up your account? Let's just go back one step. You always can click on login just like you've done in the past at the top right of the screen. Click in login now. I'm going to log in with my email address, which you would be logging in with your email address and the password that you set. If you forget your password, you can always click here to reset your password. We never are going to be collecting any passwords, so the beauty of it is it's very, very secure. So at all the times if you forget your password, you're going to click here to reset it. If I were you, I'd click on once you set your password, remember me, because if you're using the same computer and 9 times out of 10 you're probably using your work computer, it'll remember you every time you log in. So I'm going to go ahead and click the green box that says login. And ignore this screen. This is kind of my main screen, but from here I'm going to go on to manage your chapter under advisors. When you guys log in, you're going to see 2 blue boxes. You're going to see a blue box to the left that says your chapter, which lets you add, manage students, co-advisors in the school, and then there's a second box to make payments. It's kind of a 2-step process, but you're going to see how much smoother it is and how much more accurate it is with this thing. You also on the left have some different boxes, so at any time you can go home. And what's your home screen? Your home screen will go to your profile and it'll log in on your profile. I'm going to go back to my screen and I'm going to go click on your chapter. Now, some of you may be high school and middle level of chapters, so you might have more than one chapters. For me, I have several chapters that I'm managing, but most of you, 99% of you, will have one chapter. If you have a high school and a middle level chapter, you'll see them side by side. So again, as I said, one login. That's the great part about this. You just click on the chapter that you want. I'm going to go ahead and show you Reston High School, and this is just how your chapter is going to look. It's going to have what we call the system ID. This is not the chapter number. Don't panic. We still have chapter numbers because I do realize how important they are. It's going to have the city and the state. It's going to have what division, and in this case, it's high school. If it was middle level, it would say middle level. It's going to have the charter date, and this one should, it doesn't at this point. If you reactivated, meaning that if your chapter was ever inactive for 1 or more years, you might have a second date. You're also, which is really kind of nice, we're in the process of populating these, but you're going to have a district. This represents your state or your region. So now you'll never forget at your state level what region or district that you're in. The first thing we're going to do is take an overview of our profile to see how our chapter membership record looks. So when I click on the profile, I'm going to start with an overview, and I like to go with the tabs from left to right to just kind of look over everything. And it's really got nice navigation up on the top of the screen. So you're going to have the overview, the account, individuals, purchases, and documents. Over here, it kind of looks like Facebook, so you'll see an image that I have of the school. What you'll find is this is kind of an app-based application, and it's also driven off of, as I said before, your email address. So it's a very simple navigation. Again, you'll see the system ID, which really doesn't mean much. It just identifies the record. You're going to have your school address. And it's really easy to edit this. All you have to do is click the edit boxes. So let's say that I wanted to spell out drive instead of having the initials. Can't type today. Happens to the best of us, I guess. And you're going to go ahead and click save. Now it's going to default to the mailing address, which has the full zip code, and that's fine. It doesn't matter. It's probably better to have that. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. It's going to pre-populate with your school telephone number. You may have a different number for your classroom, and I'll go ahead and show you where that is. If your email address and you're the prime contact is not here, I would go ahead and add it here, and you just hit save, and it would go ahead and do that. It also has, if you want to add your FBLA chapter website or your school website, you could enter either one here, and you just click on add, which is kind of a nice feature. It's something that we haven't had in previous versions. It's also going to tell me when I've been a member, and in this case, I've had consistent membership since April 3rd, 2014. If you have any balances, it would show unpaid balances over to the right, and you could always make payment from this screen if you don't want to go out and do it back at the home page screen. And it's going to also tell me if my membership is active. And for you guys, you're probably going to all see July 31st, 2019 if you haven't gone in yet and registered members. Because remember, our membership runs on a school year, August 1st to July 31st. What's important to remember is we have an early membership fall deadline of October 20th. So you want to try to get your members in there and paid by October 20th. Why do I say that? Because your students get their magazines if they pay by October 20th. That's the first run, and that's also the date that determines some of the membership awards, like largest local chapter and some of the Super Sweeps awards. And we know Super Sweeps is in full swing, and that's one of the membership programs that deals with recruiting opportunities. I'll kind of show you where some of those things are because they're in a little bit of a different place, as is the BAA, and we'll show you that after we go through this profile of your chapter record, because they're no longer part of the membership profile or the membership system. It's a little bit different than it's been before, but it's actually a lot easier to manipulate. I'm going to go ahead and click on account. So it's going to start with my organizational information, which is pre-populated. It's going to come over from the previous screen. So it's going to have the name of the high school. Employees don't mean anything, so kind of ignore that. That's just a generic thing with the system. For the region, it's going to tell me what region I'm in, and that's going to be pre-populating. So there's 5 national regions. There's the Eastern region, the Mountain Plains, the North Central, the Southern, and the Western. So Alabama is in the Southern region. If you want to add a description of maybe your high school, you can add it here. Some chapters like to do that, just a brief narrative. Remember I said you didn't lose that chapter ID, because I do know that's important. Some chapters have banners, they have t-shirts with it. So on this organization account screen, you can always scroll down and it's going to have the organization ID or your chapter number. Here it's going to be pre-populated, and we're in the transition of moving this over. It's always going to have your charter date, and again, if you reactivated. The other thing that you're going to find when we pre-populate everything, it's going to have the state chapter charter date. Every state has a state charter. So if you were ever interested in when your chapter was chartered, you would find that here. It would also have your state dues deadline. And because some states have earlier deadlines than us, remember our drop dead deadline is March 1st. That's in order to compete at the National Leadership Conference, but some states have earlier deadlines for state competition. So again, we're in the process of pre-populating that and pre-populating when your state leadership conference is, and that means your spring state leadership conference. If you scroll down here again, you'll see that it has your state district number. And again, if you're changing everything, the save's always going to be located at the bottom of the screen. It does have all of your individuals that are affiliated with the organization. I kind of find this a little bit harder to manipulate. I don't generally go here, but if you're doing a quick look for a student, you can always manage that student account from here. So if you look at Abigail and you would manage her account, it would go ahead, and this is kind of how you go ahead and find the student profile. So when your student has a profile, you can see all of them there, and this would be what they would have for if they were affiliated with you and renewed into the year. This would actually have those membership awards on the different things on the awards tab. So that's kind of how you look for that. So I'm going to go to the back arrow again, and we're just looking at individuals here. And the other thing is that if you scroll down, as I said before, you'll see that it'll name them a student, it'll name them a bookkeeper. I'll show you what that's going to mean. And they do have an option for a student manager, and we'll see that in just a minute. You also have a tab for purchases. So under purchases, you're going to see all of your recent invoices if you would have had any invoices. So this is kind of a cool feature because at any time you can go in and view that and print it. So let's say you registered for the NFLC, you'll be able to see that invoice and print it here, or Alabama is using this system for their district workshops and for their state, so you would see that. The stock market game, which I'll show you how to register for, you'd see that here. So you'd see any of your invoices, including your membership invoices. So at any time, if you want to see them, you can see them from the Purchases tab. You also see recent payments, any memberships. And so this just shows you, as I said before, the type of membership that you have, events that you're registered for. So this will again show you the different events, okay? The other thing I want to show you is documents. Now we're in the process of pre-populating this, but every chapter will have their local chapter charter certificate here. So at any time, you'll be able to print your charter certificate. So that's a function that you guys have never had before as well. If you have questions, chances are somebody else has probably asked the same question. So if you click above, at any point on your profile, you'll see a link to FAQs, or frequently asked questions. So these are a lot of the different questions that you can go through, and it'll have the answer. And of course, you can always call us or email us at membership@fbla.org, and we'll answer them as well. But chances are, if you're looking for a quick answer, it's probably already here, and I'm going to close that out. So this is just an overview of the chapter record, and we're going to go back to the main record, and I'm back to the profile. So I looked at the profile. Now let's go to view and edit advisors. This is going to give you the option to, excuse me, have a prime contact. The thing that's different in this system is you can have more than one prime contact, which is great if you have co-advisors that kind of share responsibility. What's important to remember is that every advisor, every co-advisor, a regular advisor really needs to establish their own profile, because you want your own profile. That's how you're going to get your individual login and ID. So that's really important. The other thing that's important is an email address. If you look right here, everything, as I said before, on this system with the login is run off of the email address. So that's important. If, for example, I wanted to remove an advisor that was no longer there, and please don't remove yourself as a prime contact. It'll be really frustrating for you because it's going to lock you out of the system. So you don't want to do that. But if I wanted to remove the advisor FBLA, all I click is remove, and it's going to ask me, are you sure you want to remove this record? Click on OK, and it removes the record. If most chapters, 99% of them only have one prime contact, and then they add their co-advisors here. So these are additional advisors that may be helping with the chapter. You can either, excuse me, edit one that's in the system, and you can edit their title, and you can edit their email, or, and I'm sorry, I got out of edit advisors, you can always add a new advisor. And to add a new advisor, all you have to do is type in the first name and the last name. Can't type today, as I said before. That's because you're all watching. And I'm going to say she's the accounting instructor for this school. And not all of them are going to have titles. It doesn't matter if you put in titles or not. And I'm going to hit add. And it's just going to be as simple as that. And it's going to tell me it's been added to my organization. There's a spot to also add your principal or remove them the same way. One thing that's also really nice is a lot of times chapters have the secretary or the treasurer that manage entering the members, and sometimes even entering the payments. 9 times out of 10, it's probably the bookkeeper. But you have the option to add a student manager, and you can add it the same way that we did the advisor or the principal. So you just type the first name, the last name, the email. What I would caution you about is please make sure that you instruct students as it's the right way to do members. You know, and I'm going to show you how to choose a member, but it's important to only bring a member over if they've already paid dues. Why is that important? Because if they don't pay dues, then you have to go through a process to remove them, and it's better to like be sure on that. The other thing is if you're adding new members, which I'll show you how to do, you need to make sure that they don't enter them all in caps, because if they enter them all in caps, that's the way it's going to come out on all the records that they have, including any certificates or things like that. You also have the ability to add a bookkeeper. This is really great because a lot of schools may have credit cards, but it's really the bookkeeper, not the advisor, that has access to the school cards. So if you add them here, they can go ahead and they can pay by credit card. So this was the overview on the principal, the advisors, and the student manager. I'm going to go back and let's go ahead, and now we're ready to enter our members. So it's going to show us all of our students from at least the past 4 years. One thing you're going to see here is you see in red a remove button. Do not use this unless you're removing your seniors. It doesn't actually remove the students. It kind of, what I'd like to say, is archives them so they don't show up on your current list all the time. That's important if you have a large chapter, because sometimes if you have to scroll through a lot of members, it's best to remove your seniors. What you're going to find on your numbers, it's going to have the name, its last name, comma, first name, may have a title, may not, it's not a big deal. It's going to have the email address. It's going to tell you if it has an expiration date. If it has an expiration date, that means that, for example, Keisha was a member last year. Okay. And if we look at Bailey Williams, they're a member this year, so they've already been registered. Has a pending membership? If it says no, that means they're not paid yet. But if it has open order on it, that means you've brought them over to create a membership record. Something that's kind of nice is if you've already selected a student and brought them over, meaning that you've brought them over for potential payment or orders, then you're not going to be able to bring them over again, so you won't have duplicate payments this way. So that's kind of a nice feature. You also have, when we're going to bring a member over, it's important, let's say we're going to actually bring them over. If you look at this screen, I kind of look at it as a recruitment or a retention screen. So it lets me know which ones have orders on the students, meaning that I've already gotten their money and brought them over, and I'm either paid for them or in the process of paid for them, are the ones that don't have any membership at all, like Anna. So if I select Anna, and one thing that's important to remember on Anna is you're going to want to edit her, and I'm not going to at this point. You're going to edit it because they want to have that email address. Again, if they do not have the email address, they cannot log in for a profile. So that's what's important. The other thing is when you're bringing a student over from last year, you want to make sure you click on the additional information tab. There's two things that are required. The grade level is going to be required, and obviously if it's a member from last year, you're going to be upping the grade, and the gender is required. Now you see we have a male, a female, or non-applicable, again, for today's day and age. So we're bringing that over, and why that's important is that for some conferences, we use these lists, and states do as well, for hotel reservations. You can't always tell by a name if they're a male or female for if you're doing rooming assignments. So that's the requirement for that. You have the option of doing ethnicity and office. It's not required, but a lot of times states like these, and for demographics, because they may be applying for grants or they want to look at kind of where their members are. For example, if the state of Alabama has 10,000 members and only 1,000 of them are in 9th graders, it's kind of a problem, right? That means that you're not getting to your underclassmen, and you need to be getting to those if you want to keep an active membership or kind of a robust state membership. So I'm going to click on Save. Once I've selected the student, or you can select multiple students, I'm going to go ahead and create the membership order. And it's going to always tell me that an email will be sent to me after the order. I'm going to click on OK. And it's going to say it's going to send me an email, and I've brought that order over, meaning that I've created an invoice for that student. Let's say that none of the students are on my list and I need to add a new student. This is where I said before, it's really important to make sure that if you have a student doing this, that they put in the first name, the last name, I'm not going to do a title, and the email address. The other thing that you really need to remember is that you have to add that. And unfortunately, you have to go back to it. It's not going to bring it up to the top right away, but you can filter it alphabetically. You need to go back to that record and add those 2 required fields. And it's a little slow here, but our 2 required fields again are starred, and it's going to have the gender and the grade. I'm going to go ahead and save it. So that's all there is to really registering students and bringing over students. Again, I would really recommend you to use this form as a recruitment tool and keep going back to those kids who have been members and haven't paid you yet. Excuse me. I'm going to hit the back arrow. Let's say that your chapter is really large and maybe you have over 100 members, and it might be easier to upload the students to a roster. Just like before, we have a template, which is a spreadsheet, and you're going to be doing the required fields. So all you're doing for the required fields is having the first name, the last name, the email, the male or the gender, and the grade level. Then you have the other options like ethnicity, and you go ahead and upload it. So that's no different than before. It's just like you guys are used to doing. I'm going to go ahead and hit the back arrow. The next thing we want to look at is view our active students. Active students are students that are already paid in the system. So in order for a member count to show up on your roster or show up in your chapter, they're going to be paid students. So it's going to tell you the first name, the last name, when the original order was taken over, when they paid, which is really important at a deadline, and the email. So that's what the difference is between a paid and an unpaid member. Now, what I will tell you is if you get close to a state or national deadline, you're going to want to kind of pad how much time you put the members into, because this system, because of the number of records, there's a 4-hour delay before members are actually posted in the system with the payment. So that's important to remember when you're around deadline time, and just plan for it. As long as you know it, it shouldn't really be an issue. I'm going to hit the back arrow again. I'm going to view my inactive students. What's great about this is awesome for recruitment, because these are the members that are registered, but maybe you haven't collected payment for them and you still need to pay for them. So that's just kind of another double check, especially important around deadline time. I'm going to hit the back arrow again. The other thing I can do on this tab is I can view and print my invoice. So this will let you print all of your invoices at once. It'll have the record number and the student name. Now there's another place for it as well, but if you're looking for a quick print, this is really the place to go. So that's this tab. I'm going to go back to the main screen. And remember, of those 2 blue boxes, we have your chapter. Now we're going to go to make payments, because this is really the easiest way to make your chapter payments. So we're going to go ahead and look at them. So what's awesome about this system, as I said before, it's an individual-based system. So it'll automatically default to everybody. But if you unselect it, let's say you have members that are going to the Alabama Fall State Conference, and you know that they have to have their dues paid before that conference. So you want to bring over certain members. So all you do is select the certain members that you want, and you go ahead and it's going to automatically pre-populate with state and national dues. We are what we call a unified dues program. So that means we collect both and we rebate back your state. So if you click on full payment, it'll go ahead and it'll let you kind of go through with the payment option. So you can always go in and pay with a credit card, or at any time on the previous screen, you can print off your orders, and you can go ahead, or on that first screen we were on before, and send that in with a check. You can send it in to either, like before, our lockbox or our billing address. It doesn't really matter which one that you have. Okay, we're going to hit the back arrow again, and we looked at payments. Now let's take a look at where the stock market game is, because let's say that your members want to use the stock market game. So we're going to go ahead to our main website. And what's nice about our website is if you're not sure where something is, there's a really good search engine. I keep getting my stuff in the wrong thing here. I'm going to click on stock market game. Okay, it brings it right up. I'm going to click on FBLA. To register, log into my FBLA PBL account. Well, I'm already logged into it, so it's going to go right to it. But if you wouldn't be logged into it, and if you would just go here, all you would have to do is just take you to the login screen automatically with your email and your password. So if I click here, I go ahead and it would pre-populate with my record, and I can go ahead and make that payment. Now, for those of you that are wondering, the stock market game is a team event where students get a hypothetical $100,000 and they compete against chapters from across the country, and they make stock market transactions. So it's really kind of competitive and kind of a cool little option for online, and it really fits into any business class. Let's hit the back arrows. You're probably wondering, okay, now I know about the stock market game. How do I register for the National Fall Leadership Conference? Because we know one of our conferences is going to be held in Birmingham in Alabama. So I'm going to click on conferences. I'm going to click on National Fall Leadership Conference. And if you scroll down, you'll see that you can register for each of the cities. So you can go ahead and you can register today on Washington, D.C., Birmingham, or Denver. And so we want Birmingham. We're going to click there. And again, it's going to automatically log you into your record, and you'll be able to select your students and go ahead and either pay by invoice or pay by credit card. The other thing I wanted to show you before we get to questions is, remember I talked a little bit about the Business Achievement Awards. So a little bit of a different place than it was before, and I see that I do have a few questions on that. So to get to the Business Achievement Awards, I highlight the divisions at the top, go over to Programs on FBLA. Business Achievement Awards is hyperlinked. Click on that. And all of your activities are now going to be on this main page, okay? So for example, if I have students that want to do the Future Award, they can start working right now. There's no registration for them right now. So they're simply kind of saving on their own. So they select their activities just like before. The only difference is now they're tracking kind of on a flash drive, or I would really recommend Dropbox, because it helps to maybe have folders and keep track of that. Quizzes are right here, so you don't need that teacher account. The thing that is different is at every level they're creating a Tallo leadership profile, and a Tallo is completely private. Nobody sees the student information unless the student wants to share that. You're going to click for instructions on each level, and it's going to tell them what to do and what parts of the different thing that they're uploading. I would really suggest checking their work as you go along. Once they finish their Tallo profile, they're going to share it with you. You're going to go ahead and okay everything, and then you're going to go back to that main page, and you're going to see the forms for each level right here on this page. You just click the form, and you go in and complete it, and the kids are sharing that link again to their profile, their online leadership profile. It's actually a little bit easier now. We still are working, look soon, coming soon. We're going to have a little bit of a updated registration process for this, and a little bit more kind of ease for tracking information. That's coming soon, but in the meantime, this is a good way to track your things. The other thing is Super Sweeps. I see I have a question on that, so I'm going to type in Super Sweeps. If I click on Super Sweeps, same thing. All of your preview activities are going to be right here, so you can start working on that right now. And for those of you that are wondering, Super Sweeps has some great recruitment activities. They really help get your chapter started to a great year, and the submission form is going to be linked to the top, and we'll get that up for you tomorrow morning. So those are some of the preview of not only the database, but some of our national programs. Let's go back and take a look at some of the questions that I have. Okay, one of the first questions is, another name is attached to my record. What do I do? What you need to do is, because this is an email-based system, it could have been that maybe you had a chaperone that you put your email on, or maybe a student, maybe when you went to a conference. So all you have to do is email membership@fbla.org. What we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead, we're going to update that record. Once we do that, you're going to get an automatic email, and you'll be able to log into your record. Another question, it looks like I can log in, but I get no results. Again, with that is, most of the time there's multiple records in the system. So again, email us at membership@fbla.org. All we have to do is merge your records, and not only will it be a lot easier for you when you log in, we're cleaning up your records as well. So we're going to have the most accurate information on it so we can serve you the best. How come $25 shows up on my account? Okay, the $25 is coming from professional division members that are affiliated with your chapter. We had this in the old system as well. So at the beginning of the year, all of the professional division chapter members are renewed at $25. Does that mean we're expecting your chapter to pay for that? No, they'll pay for it themselves. It just shows up, so just ignore that billing. Another question along the lines of the professional division. How do I register professional division members? Well, there are a couple different ways. Professional members themselves will register themselves. They need to activate their profile. That's really important, because once they activate that profile, that gives them the ability to register for conferences and gives them the ability to take a look at their record as well. Okay. If they're a new professional member, they need to go to the website. And if I go to the professional division, I'm not sure it's up yet, but there's actually a form, join now, and it's up here. Great. It's going to link them to this form, and they're going to fill this out. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to actually set them up in the system so they can log in. Again, everyone needs an email address, and they have to be set up in the system to log on. Somebody's asking me, okay, but can I still pay for my professional members because I don't want them to pay for? Sure, that's why you have the option of that $25 showing up. You just click that when you pay the student invoices, or you can click it when you're paying those invoices, and you can go ahead and pay just like you did in the previous system. What happens if my link expires? Sometimes that happens. If you don't log in for a couple of weeks, it might do that. So all you have to do is go to the website, click on activate your account again, and it's going to resend you the link. Or you can just do the link here and put in your email address, and it'll email you the link, and you'll be able to log in. Another school is asking me, saying, my district blocks my emails. What do I do? Okay, in that case, there's a couple different options for that. So the best way to do it is to really kind of add myfbla.org to your contact list. That should take care of it. You may want to check your spam folder. You may want to check with the person that administers your website, your school website. Otherwise, you can always email us at membership@fbla.org. We can set you up, and we can kind of walk you through the process. At any time, if you want to call us, you can call us. Email is probably a little faster, but you can always call us. The best number is 703-860-3334, and I'm going to give you my extension. My extension is 118. My name is Lisa, and I'm the membership director. So I don't see any more questions come up yet. I'll just wait a couple seconds. The best thing I can tell you is kind of log in early. Kind of get your students registered so they get those benefits. The magazine is a nice magazine, and it's one of the benefits that we have. The other thing is that those students are going to really have that profile. And once those students have access to their profile, they can add LinkedIn and things like that. Even on your chapter profile, what I would add is there's a spot for websites. If we go back to the overview on the profile, let's see here. Go back to my landing page. I don't think I addressed that. So let's go back to the chapter. So let's go back to the view the profile. And the thing that's nice about the account is once you go on the account, it has some different things that you can do. So we went over the contact information, but this is where you would also add your new web links. So you can go ahead and add, let's say that your chapter has a chapter Facebook page. You could add that here and save it. If your chapter has a chapter Twitter page, an Instagram page, a YouTube page. So those are all things you're going to want to add your chapter website links to. So again, I don't see that I have any questions. So it looks like I've answered your questions. If you kind of have a burning question that you've forgotten to get to, make sure you email us at membership@fbla.org. Thanks again for joining us today, and have a great rest of the week.